also get to see a lot more. And so that's where we're going to in the next weeks, next months. We're just going to be walking through the story of Jesus together. We're going to be going through Mark's gospel, Mark's telling of that story. And so today I'd invite you to open your Bibles with me to Mark chapter 1. So you're going to find the New Testament, and you're going to go to the second book, Matthew and then Mark. As you turn there, let me tell you that I think this sermon series is for all kinds of different people. It's a sermon series that's for believers, because we need to again and again and again reacquaint ourselves with the story of Jesus until it becomes a driving force in our lives. It's also for people who aren't quite sure about this Jesus guy. And hopefully we'll be able to introduce people to him as we walk through the gospel together. And so we begin in Mark chapter 1 this morning. Mark 1, 1 through 8, which Miss Williams read for us so well just a few moments ago. It starts off like this in verse 1, the beginning of the good news about Jesus the Messiah, the Son of God. And so right out of the gate, we realize that Mark is the kind of guy that when he tells a story, he gets straight into things, okay? He tells us what he's going to be talking about. We are talking about the good news about Jesus. And automatically we know that Mark is a guy who has a very high view of this Jesus character, right? Who's Jesus to Mark? He's not just a good teacher. He's not just a nice man who blesses children. Yes, those things are true. But for Mark, Jesus is nothing short of the Messiah. The Messiah is God's chosen king, who is going to come and rescue his people. More than this, he is the very Son of God. So Mark tells us we're going to start this story about Jesus, who is nothing short of God's anointed king, who is nothing short of the Son of God. He tells us we're going to start where any good story would start, in the beginning, but this is where things get a little bit weird. Now, you would expect that if Mark is going to tell us the story about Jesus, and he's going to start at the beginning of that story, that he'd get straight to talking about Jesus. But that's not what Mark does in his gospel. Instead of getting straight to talking about Jesus, he talks about this crazy dude who shows up in the wilderness eating locusts and wild honey. If you look in chapter